Great to see Tobias Harris get into a rhythm on Thursday night. He and the 76ers back at it against the Bucks today. Tyrese Maxey having himself a heck of a weekend, playing his way back into the conversation for a spot for meaningful minutes in the rotation as the season winds down. This guy, he's pretty good. A tough out is Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks, round 3 and the finale of this 2-game series at Pfizer Forum, coming your way in a little over an hour. As we welcome you into 7-6 Live Countdown, presented by Tissot. I'm Brian Seltzer. Always great to see noon, night, or in between on this stream. Lauren Rosen, a matinee edition of 7-6 Live Countdown.
Yes, indeed. Good to see you as well, Seltz. You know I love
On a beautiful Saturday afternoon in Philadelphia. Matinee, a big one. You can say it's prime time, I suppose. It's the nationally televised afternoon game on a Saturday. 76ers and Bucks series against Milwaukee. Sixers have not been at full strength in either of the previous 2 matchups, and Lauren, they are not going to be at full strength again today.
Yeah, Seltz, it's something you and I talk about a lot, especially this season, considering how congested the schedule has been, considering how few games are left. A bummer that, of course, Joel Embiid not available in that first overtime matchup with the Bucks. Ben Simmons not available in the second and first of this series. Ben also out today with that non-COVID illness. So the team will look to sort of make up for the areas that Ben cannot be today, obviously notably on the defensive end against Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think, Seltz, maybe we don't talk about it enough, how much his absence has been felt over the last few games.
Well, especially the 76ers have lost all 3 of the games that he hasn't played this past week, and you think about the makeup of the opposition for the Sixers during this stretch, and unquestionably, there are key players who have hurt the Sixers on each of these previous 3 teams, talking about the Warriors, Suns, and the Bucks, who Ben Simmons, without a doubt, would have been a factor in defensively trying to contain some of the players who burned the Sixers. So that's a reality. It sounds like he's feeling better based on what Doc Rivers said a few moments ago during his pregame media.
Yes, indeed. The team, of course, will be ready to welcome Ben back with open arms, still putting together that defensive player of the year worthy campaign. Today would have been an opportunity to show some of that great defense. We've seen him play on Giannis in the past, but of course, thoughts are with Ben, hoping he's feeling better and looking forward to seeing him back when he can be.
Doc Rivers also said in his media availability he thinks that Joel Embiid will be able to go. He's dealing with some short soreness in his shoulder, and the Sixers are just going to see how Joel is feeling after he goes through his pregame routine. One thing I'm curious to see, and I love these 2-game mini-series during the regular season. I really hope it's something that sticks in the league, especially the timing of this one. It'll be intriguing to me to see whether or not Lauren Doc puts Joel on Giannis a little bit more. It sounded like after Thursday's game, one of the reasons why we didn't see Joel defend Giannis was because it was the second night of a back-to-back for the Sixers.
For sure. And of course, still some pretty impressive bigs outside of Giannis on this team. We saw Brook Lopez go absolutely crazy from deep. Really cool to see that big man has added that to his game. Not great to see for the Sixers, of course, but Joel Embiid will have his hands full regardless of who he's assigned to today. Looking forward to seeing, though, if we do get a little bit more of that hotly anticipated one-on-one matchup.
And listen, it's a bummer that we know Milwaukee has won this 3-game season series, and if it were to come down to a tiebreaker, that the Bucks have already clinched that by virtue of winning the first 2 matchups in this 3-game series. As we take a look at some of the highlights from Thursday night's 124-117 loss, obviously the Bucks got out to a terrific start. And I think right now, Lauren, the matchup in the season series, you would have to think psychologically belongs to the Bucks. Lead against Milwaukee.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not sure that that 0-2 situation really tells the full story. When you look at that first game, how close it was, even without Joel Embiid. This second game, we haven't really mentioned yet that this Sixers team was playing the second night of a back-to-back on the road. The Bucks team had 2 full days of rest, playing at home and healthier. So again, you want to see teams like these face off with everybody available, everybody healthy, everybody on equal rest. And we just haven't had that opportunity this season. But who knows? Maybe in the playoffs we'll be treated to a heightened version of this same series.
And the question in some of these recent games, whether it was last week against Brooklyn or the Clippers, and now in these 2 games against the Bucks, if the Sixers aren't at full strength and playing all their guys or able to play all their guys, what can you deduce and take away from how they play against these teams? It's a great question. It is the question. But I think one thing, if I'm looking at the Bucks right now, Lauren, would I expect them to come out and shoot 66% in a half again? No. I think it was a combination of them being as on as they could be shooting, and the Sixers also coming in under duress, having played a physical game the night before. But I will say the Bucks, they're a really good team. I think that they address some weaknesses in the offseason. I think if we're looking to take anything away from what we've seen from the Bucks, yeah, and I think that I feel comfortable saying this, regardless of what happens today. I feel like they look like they're a good team that is a challenger, along with the Sixers, to come out of the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, certainly a challenger, certainly a team that's had a little bit more time together. Of course, adding Drew Holiday, adding PJ Tucker a little bit later on in the season, but the core group has spent some time together. They have experience leading the East over these last couple of seasons. Like you said, Celts, I don't know that the shooting that they were able to show in game one of this series is necessarily sustainable. A reminder, the Bucks shot 55.6% from the field overall and 50% from three in that first game. Certainly shows what they're capable of doing offensively, but I'm not sure I'm buying that they're going to be able to string another full 48 of that type of efficiency together. Again, I don't want to jinx it here, but that's not really the type of efficiency you see multiple games in a row. And the Sixers hopefully will have planned to find them in the spots where they're vulnerable.
It is not an excuse, but it is a reality that we discussed on Thursday night. And again, a few moments ago, the Sixers playing on the second night of a back to back in Thursday's game after a really close, hard fought matchup with the very good Phoenix Suns on Wednesday. Doc Rivers was asked after Thursday's game about the timing of the first game in this 2 game series.
Yeah, I love Joel on Giannis, but we played last night, and we're right now we have Tobias just coming back, Seth just coming back. We really felt strong, and we can't have him on Giannis to start the game. We don't want to kill him, and so obviously if that's a playoff game, you have Ben on him or Joel on him, that would be what we would do. That's why I don't get lost in regular season games. There's no way we would have had a different matchup tonight. We played last night. I'm more concerned about getting through the game.
Well put by Doc Rivers. Giannis in the game on Thursday, 27 points, 16 rebounds, 6 assists. Joel Embiid, 24 points for the 76ers on 9 for 21 shooting. I want to pick up, Lauren, on something that Doc alluded to during that bite. Tobias Harris back in the fold for the 76ers. I thought he played really well in that 12-point third quarter that he had. And I hope that that's a sign of something that he can build upon. More on that a little bit later. But I think if you're the Sixers, you look at that and say, hey, Tobias knocked off some rust, and maybe today he's closer to a full 48 or whatever it is he ends up playing, looking like the guy he did in the third quarter.
Certainly promising at the very least to see him put up 18 points, 2 rebounds, 6 assists, 8 of 16 shooting is still that efficient shooting from the floor we've been accustomed to seeing from Tobias all season this year. And again, that on a night that he considered himself a little rusty, Doc considered him a little bit rusty, and still was able to put up a really productive and pretty efficient performance. You mentioned that he heated up later in the game. That's something we've become accustomed to seeing from Tobias as well. He's had a couple really excellent fourth quarters this season. So just great to have him back. Obviously, he brings a ton to the floor. He brings a ton to the team's offense, but he also brings a lot as a leader. And I know he and his teammates were equally happy to have him back in the fold for game one.
See Tyrese Maxey right there shouting out Tobias, one of his 6 assists. Good to see that in the game. And right, I mean, you see Tobias out there playing alongside the likes of Joel, and you're reminded that, hey, this is a key complementary piece, and the way that he can really muscle up on undersized players right there, in the instance that he was matched up with Drew Holiday. And he was someone who should have been an all-star, and you can't discount the 20 points per game that were missing when Tobias Harris was out.
And Ben Simmons, an all-star for sure. It's been a tough stretch for the Sixers. Anytime you're missing both of those guys or one or the other, they're going to struggle, and that's okay. The team has prided itself in trying to find ways to compete, which they have certainly done. Today, they're going to have to find a way to win, which is something they also have prided themselves in being able to do, regardless of who's available or who is not. For those of you just joining us now, Ben Simmons still out with that non-COVID illness. Joel Embiid and Furkan Korkmaz both questionable.
That's right. Tobias Harris doing his thing. Missed 3 straight games in a row, but with some pain in his knee before coming back in the matchup on Thursday. And here's how he felt about the state of the 76ers and their health afterwards.
No, I would say we just got to get it. We got to be, everybody got to get healthy. That's number one. We got to be able to really arrive at the playoffs with a healthy group, healthy unit, mentally and physically, and just be focusing and locked in of the main goal of what's at hand. So as we finish all these games out, obviously, it's evident that there's a race for whichever seeding it is. We want to be the number one seed. That's been our goal from the beginning of the year. So we got to do that in the best of way that we can, with health-wise, of getting everybody healthy and suited for the playoffs. And from there, we go out and play our game and do what we have to do to win basketball games in the postseason.
And Lauren, I thought it was great to hear Tobias give the feedback that he did about his knee that had been bothering him after Thursday's loss to the Bucks. Seems like he's feeling pretty good.
Yeah, a huge relief for Sixers fans, for Sixers coaches. Tobias feeling good, feeling healthy, feeling ready to go. Like he said, health is of the utmost importance right now, physical health and mental health. And it's good to hear that he is feeling better in those categories.
One of the beneficiaries of Tobias Harris's 6 dimes in the game on Thursday, as we mentioned, Tyrese Maxey. It has been so much fun, Lauren, watching Tyrese reemerge, plant his flag in the sand, as it were, this past week. He's been really exciting. I think he's always had that excitement factor about him, but he's been given the opportunity to show what he can do in extended minutes in the absence of Ben Simmons. That's forced the 76ers to reconfigure part of their backcourt rotation, and here is Maxey reemerging.
Yeah, 3 straight games in double figures. With the 4th most recent game, he scored 9. Tyrese has stayed ready all season long. He talks about how much pride he takes in putting in the extra work and the extra time in the gym, regardless of how many minutes he's getting out on the floor. And he's certainly proven that work is going to good use over these last few games.
And as we take a look at these highlights, we see him stroke a 3-pointer right there. He was 2 for 4 from outside the arc in the game on Thursday. And I think that's something that's heartening to see, and something that Doc Rivers and the Sixers coaching staff is paying attention to as well, that it's not just floaters for Tyrese. As good as that move is, and as much he's been able to go to it and be effective, mixing up his game a little bit is only going to make him that much more versatile and dangerous.
Shooting it confidently from 3 as well. You see him get fouled there. Doc Rivers just said pregame that they're working with Tyrese on getting to the line a little bit more. A tough task for any rookie. They're not going to get calls at quite the rate that maybe some others would. But the more that he drives, the more confidence that he shows, the more he's willing to just shoot. Tyrese has been excellent over the last few games, and it's been a pleasure to watch him grow so far this year.
And as we've talked about throughout this year, he just plays with a type of energy and bounce that is really enjoyable and fun to watch, and he's got the personality to go match his style of play.
No doubt about it. He's been a pleasure to get to know. He always brings a positive attitude. His teammates have enjoyed him. The veterans have enjoyed teaching him. I loved hearing him the other day, Seltz, talk about all the veterans that have played a role in his first season in the NBA. He shouted out Tobias and Danny Green and Dwight Howard and George Hill, who just came in and is already making an impact, and also said that Ben and Joel have been big influences. So cool to hear him almost go down the roster and just talk about the different ways in which the veterans on this team have been positive influences for his game in what's been a very unconventional and I'm sure difficult rookie season for Tyrese.
So I think we've got this queued up. We're going to do something different for our regular Inside Access segment today. At the top of the show, we saw Tobias Harris and Tyrese Maxey during our montage of walk-in photos. We've also just gotten in some of the departure shots of your 76ers from the team hotel. And I've got to say, Lauren, we need to give some feedback here. If I'm Danny Green, listen, I'm doing me, clearly, and he's doing him.
Yeah, Seltz, I honestly can't tell you what's going on there. I hope at least that outfit brought him some joy and some comfort, but I have no, I'm struggling for words with this one. A unique look from Mr. Green.
So when I saw it for the first time, I had heard on the broadcast on Thursday of the game that it was almost like blizzard-like conditions in Milwaukee earlier in the week. And the first thing I'm thinking, obviously not being out there, is okay, I'm giving Danny the benefit of the doubt. He's rocking some UGG-like winter hat, and maybe it's frigid and frosty out there in the great Midwest. But then I check the weather because I'm trying to be diligent here and get some context. It's 54 degrees in Milwaukee. Come on.
Oh no. Well, first of all, good reporting from you, Seltz. Love that journalistic instinct to go and really fact check the situation down or up there in Milwaukee rather. But yeah, I can't really. I have no words for this except for that it's unique and Danny never afraid to push the envelope with his fashion choices.
No, Danny Green doing him. Let's see. I think we have one more in our stash of departure shots from the team hotel. Credit our outstanding content producer extraordinaire, Nick McCain. Ah, yes. Dwight Howard.
See, that's nice, Seltz.
Ready to rock?
Mm-hmm. That's a little bit of comfort and a little bit of flair. I personally respect that. That's an outfit that I would wear. I'm all about this one.
I was trying to think of a word or descriptor to use for the patterns in the sweatsuit, but I don't know. It's not tie-dye. Flamey.
See, to me, it looks tie-dye, but maybe my eyes are failing me. I like this one. I'm all about this look.
Maybe it is tie-dye. It's just not the traditional mixture of tie-dye colors.
Yeah.
Okay,
I could see it being tie-dye or a pattern. We'll have to check it out. Up close and personal at some point.
Day game, you never know what you're going to get on Inside Access. Fashion critiques, commentary, and witticisms from your hosts here on 7-6 Live Countdown, presented by Tissot. As we shift our focus to the Milwaukee Bucks, getting into today's matchup, 3-game series finale, 76ers, I think would be great for them to take at least one game from Milwaukee before the regular season wraps up. I think Milwaukee's in a really good place. They've flown under the radar. Had a great performance on Thursday, and he's played really well.
Yeah, he's obviously, he's a 2-time MVP for. He's given lots of teams problems around the league. Matchup, but yeah, he's just been excellent to watch and maybe look for the Sixers to make some adjustments there personnel-wise in today's day game.
And listen, TNT during their halftime show on Thursday, a couple people made some bold predictions about the Milwaukee Bucks' future for the rest of this year. Might have been Chuck who said he could see them coming out of the East, going to the finals. And I do think that is a noteworthy plot line for Milwaukee. That maybe, at least for me, I'm not zeroed in on them like I am the Sixers throughout the regular season. Just how much past disappointment and learning the lessons from that could fuel them as they try to make a deeper push and finally get out of the East this year.
Well, yeah, they've done everything they could in the regular season, right, Seltz? And now it's all about sort of matching that regular season intensity in the postseason, and they'll certainly have a chance to do so in just a few weeks. Will definitely be interesting to see if these two teams meet down the line. I do still like the Sixers' chances in a matchup head-to-head if they have everybody available. But of course, as we mentioned at the top of the show, haven't had a chance to see that this season. Won't get a chance to see it today with Ben Simmons still out with that non-COVID illness. If you're just joining us now, Ben is out. Joel Embiid questionable, dealing with a little bit of shoulder soreness. Furkan Korkmaz nursing that sprained ankle, also questionable.
I'm feeling it, Lauren. I think it might be just about that time And that's not because there's an Amazon truck driving in reverse out in front of my house, which you may or may not be able to hear. It's because it is time for the Tissot keys to the game.
That's what my Tissot PR 100 has to say as well. It's telling me, Lauren, let's get to the keys.
Lauren, I'm going to mute my mic and hope that the Amazon truck is gone by the time that you finish your key to today's game.
Seltz, my key is one that we have heard before. I said a full 48. The Sixers have had a really difficult schedule this week. There's no denying that. You don't want to have to face a team like Milwaukee on the second night of a back-to-back, and they did struggle when they did so. This time they're a little bit more rested. They're a little bit more used to this personnel without Ben Simmons. They have the potential to sneak one out before the end of this regular season series ends. If they can put together a full 48, set the tone on defense as usual, and make the most of the pieces they have available.
Good deal, good deal. My key is help on the way, and that is to refer to something that we talked about earlier in the show, Tobias Harris. If he can give you a full game worth of Tobias Harris that we saw earlier this season, just before he had to sit out 3 games with that pain in his knee. Listen, I like that dynamic for the 76ers. Doesn't automatically mean that they'll have a different result than what we saw from the first 2 matchups in this season with the Bucks, but he is another bona fide weapon that Milwaukee's very good defense has to account for.
I like it, Seltz. I'm with you.
And those are our Tissot keys to the game presented by Tissot. One more thing I wanted to mention, Lauren, about the Sixers and a possible key for today's game. Sixers over the last 3 games during this losing streak, and they haven't lost more than 3 straight games this year. They've done it twice previously this season. They're allowing the opposition to convert nearly 43% of their 3-point field goal opportunities. And I know that they don't have Ben Simmons, and he is one of the best, if not the best, perimeter defenders in the NBA, but would love to see them try and tighten things up, defending the 3, especially. There have been some open corners the last couple games, and we saw how, whether it was Javon Carter for the Suns or different examples with the Milwaukee Bucks in the game on Thursday, that's been an area where the Sixers have been hurt. So would love to see them try and tighten that up for today.
For sure, Seltz. And it's something that they've picked up on as well. There's been some chatter about those open corners in post-game media, as well as transition defense. Those are 2 areas that the team is looking to improve on in the next couple of weeks before the playoffs begin. So today is as good an opportunity as ever to work on those 2 areas.
I think before we get out of here, Lauren, we have an HBD notification that we need to put out there into the Sixers social sphere. Yes, a happy 48th to E. Snow, one of the greats in recent 76ers history.
Love that. Always down to deal out happy birthdays on 7-6 Live. Happy birthday, Eric Snow.
Curtis Harris, our curator, proprietor of @Sixers History. Give that a follow. He does not miss a beat. I always forget about those blue pirate-style Iverson-era uniforms. They were different.
I dig it. I always dig a retro. Fun to see what the team looked like in different phases of its history.
What a fashion-centric 7-6 Live countdown presented by Tissot. Venturing into new territory, showing that this late in the season, you still can try and reinvent your pregame stream. Ah, yes. We got to zoom in. Gotta. There he is. Danny Green doing his thing. We appreciate Ryan Coletti. Yes, all time. We appreciate Ryan Coletti, Trevor Gaffney, you, Lauren Rosen. Thank you, and everyone who streamed along. We will be back at it on Monday when the 76ers are back at home to start another homestand. They will take on OKC. See you then.